Good morning, everybody. I'm glad to have you here. My name is Shannon Echeverry. I'm the interim director of the Turner Senior Wellness Program. And we are here with Janet Hunko with the Housing Bureau for Seniors. Here, kind of a collaboration for Senior Living Week. So glad to have you all with us today. We have people both virtually and in the room. So for those of you who are joining virtually, we do have a Q&A box at the bottom. So if you have questions throughout the presentation, please put them there. And at the end, we can get questions from there. And then also for those of you that are in the room, we will address your questions as well. So this is being recorded. So for those of you who would like to see it again, or if you have any friends or family, we can email everybody that was here today to get you the information at a later date. So with that being said, I think I will pass it over to Janet.
Thank you, Shannon. Before you go, there was a question in the Q&A already about chat. Is the chat been enabled? Do you know?
I am not sure the settings.
Okay. I ran into this yesterday.
It works for me. I believe if everybody can see that.
Oh, it looks like somebody.
So the chat, just so everyone knows, the chat is where everybody can see it, but the Q&A only the presenters and moderators will be able to see it. So if you have a question that you would like to be anonymous, the Q&A would be a good place to do that. So anytime you want to put any questions at the end, we can address as many questions as we can with the time that we have.
Sounds good. And I'll be doing a short exercise with everyone, asking that you do put some information in the chat if you're comfortable. So, and if the chat's not working, we'll just use Q&A. We're adaptable. So thank you, Shannon. I appreciate the collaboration with the Healthy Aging and Senior Living Week. So let's get going. I appreciate you inviting us. So welcome everyone. I'm Janet Hunko. I'm from the Housing Bureau for Seniors, as Shannon mentioned. And today we're going to talk about when to know when to move. I've presented this before, and I just want to make sure a few things are made clear. My intention today isn't to tell you what to do or where to go. My hope and vision for today is to help you start thinking about what it is that you want to do. I think that's the first step in any decision making, especially informed decisions. So for today, we have an agenda. Shannon already covered a lot of the housekeeping. Q&A is on your screen for those of you who are online. Yvonne Cudney, my colleague, is in the room at Turner, who will facilitate questions that folks in that room have. So if you have questions, I think Yvonne has set up a system for you to write down your questions, and she will ask them on your behalf. Talking about why we're here today, Senior Living Week is a long time function of the Housing Bureau for Seniors. We've been doing it for many, many years. Hopefully, many of you have had an opportunity to see the expo we had this past Saturday. We had a phenomenal speaker. I'm hearing some really good things about what happened. The reason I'm hearing good things and the reason that we are made a quick switch to a Zoom webinar for this presentation is that unfortunately I have COVID at the moment. So I'm almost done with it. I'm feeling really good today, but I wanted to make sure everybody was safe. So that's why we made that quick change, and I appreciate everybody's flexibility. So my numbering's off a little bit here, but number 3 really should be, we're going to talk about what is aging in place. What does that mean? I have that a short exercise I call tunnel vision that we'll go through and give you some ideas from what you think about what aging in place is and what it means for you. And then we're going to talk about reasons to stay. I'm assuming that many of our participants today are homeowners. And that's usually what draws this crowd. So we're going to talk about some advantages of staying in your home. And then if you decide that maybe you do want to go, things to look out for. I'm not going to be talking about specific residences today. If that's something that you're interested in hearing more about, we can definitely arrange to have another conversation. And then we'll have plenty of time hopefully for questions and answers. So with that, let's move on. So aging in place, it's a buzzword, buzz phrase that goes around these days. And there is a specific definition as brought by the CDC. So as it says on the screen, it's the ability to live in one's own home and community safely, independently, and comfortably, regardless of age, income, or ability level. So it really is about the person, and it's about you, and it's about all of these components that make it able for you to age in place. A recent survey was done from the Healthy Aging Poll, and they, according to their survey, 88% of adults between 50 and 80 believe it's important to age in place. And then there's also considerations in terms of are they prepared to age in place? And some are, some aren't. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that and how that can happen. So moving on, I would like to do an exercise that's called tunnel vision. So if you have available, grab a piece of paper. There's going to be some silences here because I want to give you an opportunity to think about some things. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, and then we'll talk about what it means to you. So to figure out what aging in place means for you, I'd like you for a moment, if you're comfortable, close your eyes. Imagine yourself, whether it's 5 years or 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years down the road, when it's your time that you think that you want to make a change. What kind of lifestyle do you hope for? What will your living conditions be like? How important is your choice of location? Will you be close enough to family, friends, doctors, pharmacies, or other medical facilities? Will you be close enough to shopping, to senior centers like Turner, religious facilities, communities? What do you think your health would be like? Do you have any indication to know what your health is going to be? Are you going to be concerned about finances? What services might you require to help you live your days? So now open your eyes and jot down the first couple of things that come to mind. And what we'll do is we're going to do our best to try and capture some of these ideas that you have. Um, if you're online, please drop them in chat, although I'm hearing that chat is disabled, which they're working on. So in the meantime, you can add it to Q&A. What's the first couple of things that come to mind? So I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. And Yvonne in the room at Turner, if you could maybe collect a few answers and drop them into chat as well, that'd be helpful. Okay. And
Can you repeat the question, please? And for the person who said that chat is disabled, we're not, unfortunately, we don't know how to re-enable it. So please just pose your questions and question and answer.
yeah, so they are working on getting the chat up and running so for the moment, put it in Q&A. And the question is, after hearing that series of questions, what's the first thing that comes to your mind in terms of where you imagine yourself in 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years down the road, when it's time for you to make a decision on whether to stay or to go where you are, whether to age in place. So far, got a couple comments. Someone said a safe and secure environment to live in, very important. Um, Another person said pleasure of staying in a walkable location for as long as I can. Would I need someone to help with cooking? What about the bathroom? Excellent questions. These are all important things to think about. Um, what about friends and local resources? Here in Ann Arbor, versus adult children, I best get along with out of state. So I think that is saying that there's a lot of resources here in Ann Arbor, and the decision might be to move closer to children who are out of state. Definitely something to think about. Affordability, the affordability to continue to live in Ann Arbor it's starting to get very expensive. Absolutely, I would agree with that. I want a single place room in a continuous care facility near my daughters, a good health system in a city setting. I expect I will experience cognitive impairment. Okay. Next person says, I think about my family being close to me, being close enough to visit. Quieter location, neighborhood compared to my current condo. So something a little bit more, um, maybe less chaotic. Next person says, expect to be living alone with assistance if needed. Several home modifications, including a ramp possibly. Have a lawn and snow service. You may need shopping to assistance with shopping, friends and family nearby, and affordability with an exclamation point. Absolutely. Yvonne, is there anyone in the room who would like to contribute? I'll take that as a no and we'll move on. So whether or not you shared what your thoughts were after this exercise, keep in mind what your answers are, because as we're going through, these are going to be the telltale signs of what you want or what you need for your in making an informed decision for what it is that you want to do. So we're going to talk about home ownership, thinking about, what does it mean to age in place where you are in your own home, assuming that you have your own home. There are definitely pros and cons. A lot of them we talked about already in the exercise we just did. But many folks would prefer to stay close to family and friends. Perhaps you've lived in your home for years and years and years, and it's comfortable, and you know where you are. I had a neighbor who he was a little bit older, and he had lived in his house for 55 years. Um, Closer to 60 actually. He developed macular degeneration, and he was having a hard time navigating, many things. His wife had to drive him everywhere he went, but he knew his home. He knew where he was. He knew how to get from his garage door to his mailbox. He knew all the way around his home. So he was comfortable and it was very familiar. And sometimes thinking about having to move or change locations like that can be scary. So definitely a pro is the comfortability. Privacy. Someone had mentioned living in a condo. There might be lots of people around, thinking about, your direct environment. So having your own home could definitely bring more privacy. And then a lot of people prefer to protect their home as an investment, perhaps an investment to share with their heirs, children, and whatnot. So that's something to consider. And there's definitely cons as well. We think about it's tough keeping up a house. There's a lot of work, a lot of things to do. Um, there are, I mean, regular maintenance that came up in our exercise a few minutes ago, having somebody to remove snow or mow the lawn, and just general maintenance and upkeep. Thinking about things like your mobility. Um, do you anticipate having difficulty driving? Are you able to walk to events and get around to where you need to go? And then thinking about finances. Most older adults become on a fixed income. It could be limited. Will owning your own home continue or become a financial burden? Thinking about those things. Having trouble with the mouse here today, so bear with me. There it goes. Okay. So, a couple things to think about. In thinking about this exercise and thinking about your decision and what you would like to do. Um, are you thinking for yourself short term or long term? Sometimes people prefer to have a short term solution for a long term goal. That could mean, maybe staying in your home for a little while with the idea and goal to continue to move towards moving or figuring out how you can stay. Um, how will your social health and financial needs be met? We addressed that a little bit already, but thinking about, you know, if I'm not quite there yet, how can I get myself to the point where I am there? And then is sharing your home an option? Is that something you would consider? Housing Bureau for Seniors for a long time had a program which provided shared housing facilitation. Unfortunately, we don't do that anymore, but I still think and I believe that sometimes a shared housing situation could be beneficial for someone who wants to age in place. So I'm going to pause for a moment and take a look because we have a couple more comments here in the Q&A. Again, quieter location compared to my current, we already talked about that one. Living alone with assistance if needed. That one we already said. I thought there was a couple new ones. It looks like we got them all. Sorry about that. And I will take a moment too to check in with Yvonne. Is there anything from the audience there? We'll take that as a no.
Nope, nothing from the audience.
Okay, thank you. Again, more things to consider. You want to age in place. You're living in your home. Maybe you've been there for many, many years. Is it safe? Are you able to navigate around safely? Sometimes older homes need some serious upkeep. Um, can modifications happen? Are there things that you can do to ensure that you can stay? We'll talk a little bit more in depth about that in a moment. Um, and then more importantly, sometimes is if those modifications are possible, are they affordable? That's another thing to think about. Um, how do you get help around the house? Who can help you mow that lawn or shovel that walk in the winter? Do you have those kind of supports? Are there other places that you can turn to for that? And then if you anticipate needing care for your personal care, do you have anybody available to you that you can point to or talk to? And the reason we bring this up now is, I'm a proponent for um, preparing and preparing for yourself in terms of prevention. So everyone at some point, we're all aging, we're all going to, it's just part of life. It's a natural part of life. We're all going to get older. Our bodies, start to decline. I mean, that's all natural. Um, do you have somebody that you can turn to? And even though you're not feeling it now, or maybe you're feeling okay today, in that 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years down the road, do you anticipate needing help? And now's the time to think about it when you're feeling good. So, thinking about safety and modifications, there's a toolkit here, which I'm gonna, we'll share these slides and you'll be able to hit these links. But I'm going to show you a couple if I can pull it off without messing up the presentation too much. But there are several different places you can turn to. First and foremost, there are several of these out there, but this is a checklist for home safety and fall prevention. So let's give this a shot and see how this works. Bear with me and tell me whether or not you can see it.
Yes, we can see it.
Excellent, thank you. So this is, I pulled this offline. It's from the CDC, and I apologize for not looking at you, but I'm looking at a different screen right now. But it's really basic. I think it's 2 pages long, but it's something it's worth looking at. Real basic, common sense things. So, keeping your corridors clear. Do you have a clear pathway to get to where you need to go? Check out the steps, making sure that things are safe and stable. Rugs are a huge issue for folks. As we get older, sometimes our balance and stability wanes. A area rug could take you out, unfortunately. So thinking about that, are they safe? Are they secure? Are they pinned down? Or do they need to be removed? Things like that. And so this is, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it gives you a good sense for all the rooms in your home and things to think about in terms of how to make it more safe. And it's pretty user friendly, pretty easy. Let me go back up to, actually it's only one page because the first page is the title. So we'll close that back down. Let me get my slides back up here so I can know what I'm talking about. And then thinking about if you want to have modifications done to your home, the National Association of Home Builders has a program called CAPS, Certified Aging in Place Specialists, and they will come in and help you look at your home and figure out how to make it better for you to live there. I'm going to check in the chat. Will the webinar be available to watch as a recording? We're going to do our best. It is being recorded and we'll figure out how to disseminate it. So yes. So another link here. This is, they have a intuitive setting on this one as well. Oops, let me get here. And you can find folks in your area or location. They do it by state, and they do it. And I set it up for Ann Arbor here. And there are, I think, about 10 people in Ann Arbor that could perhaps do an aging in place consult for you. In my mind, that's not a lot, but you could play around with it and look at different locations and things like that. I will say that I don't know a whole bunch about it in terms of pricing. My guess is that you might find that those types of modifications to be a little bit pricier. So that's where thinking about your own personal situation, some can afford it absolutely. Some of them, it's not even an option. So that's another thing to think about. There are some in-home care programs, and I'm not going to click on this link, but if you go to AAA 1B, the link is there. You'll be able to look at places that potentially could bring in-home care for you. And then there's private companies such as Life Choices, who through EHM Senior Solutions, they will they have a program that you can arrange to pay on a regular basis. They have somebody available to you at all times. Not s- singling out or endorsing Life Choices. It's just somebody that is that I've seen the program before, and there are other ones like that. So there's something. It's well worth a search. I'll pause for questions. Just to double check, I don't see any other questions. Okay. All right. So thinking about, continuing down the line of thinking about, what it's going to mean or what you need to have in place. Thinking about personal care. We touched on this a little bit. Do you have friends and family? Are there people around that could help you when and if you need it? And if there are, talk about it sooner than later. Don't want to get into the position where you are in a crisis and then have to find and scurry around and find friends and family to help you out. Um, some of you might have heard of PACE. This is a program in our area. It's PACE. Let me pull up the website. This is a general website, and it gives you just the basic idea of what PACE is. So it stands for a program for all-inclusive care for the elderly, and it's a Medicare and Medicaid program, and it helps you meet your healthcare needs while you stay in your home. In a very general sense of how this works is if you're accepted into a PACE program, you they will they will pick you up it could be on a daily basis. I've seen it where it's been 3 to 5 days a week. Take you to their community, their site. They take care of everything you need. They take care of your physician appointments. There's recreation. There's congregate meals. It's at whatever level that is needed. So that's something to think about as well. Technology. I'm going to open it up in the chat again, or the Q&A, whichever works. And ask if you can think of some things technology-wise that could be helpful or beneficial to help you age in place.
There is a question in the question and answer. Does PACE extend to the Medicare Advantage programs?
I don't know specifically. I imagine it will. I think as long as you have the Medicare, I think it does, but we could check it out. We could check it out on the website. I don't know for absolute certain. So technology, what kinds of technology could you use to help you age in place? What are you aware of? I have a couple ideas in mind, but I'd like to hear from you.
Carla?
Yes?
Lights,
Alexa can help manage lights
television.
and
things like
television
that.
and televisions and things like that. Google Home too.
So Alexa and Google Home, absolutely. I believe there's an Alexa that will connect you directly with your loved ones and family. I imagine Google Home does that as well. Someone put in the Q&A life alert buttons. Absolutely. You can wear them as a necklace. Sometimes you can wear them as a watch bracelet. And if you run into trouble, you can be in direct contact with help. Setting up auto pay for rent and utilities. Excellent suggestion. That's something that helps you make sure that everything's getting paid. Use Zoom or telehealth instead of in-person visits and appointments. Excellent. That's
Apple Watch.
Say again.
Apple Watch.
Apple Watch. Yes, I'm gonna tell my own story about Apple Watch in just 1 minute. So use of a grand pad. So I guess I'm not totally familiar with what that is. I'm guessing that is similar to a tablet that you can connect back and forth with your direct family. There's a lot of products that are coming out with that these days. Someone said shopping in terms so you can do your online grocery runs. I've never personally used that for myself, but I've considered it recently. Um, and I hear that they're great. So you could just put an order in and you have your groceries and things like and other shopping things delivered, and not just groceries. You could shop through online services. Um, and then another comment, can I get regular checkups on my ability to connect with internet computing? How to keep current with new technology? So I think that's a request for help for that. And I believe if you talk with the folks at Turner, I believe that they sometimes have people coming in and giving like lessons and workshops and such about your own technology. Someone said Apple Watch. I wear an Apple Watch, and this is a real life true story. A year ago, this past summer, I was out in my backyard and it was really dark. And I tripped on something that wasn't supposed to be there. I fell flat down, fell hard and fast, and I ended up breaking my arm. Everything's fine. But the interesting thing about the Apple Watch is it started to notify me and say, "Do you want me to call EMS? Do you want me to call EMS?" And if I hadn't, I was fine and I was able to ambulate. So I got up and I was able to shut it off. But had I not been able to shut it off, or if I weren't able to move, my Apple Watch would have called 911 services for me, which I think can be beneficial, especially if you're, home alone. So. Any other comments before we move on from there? So the next thing on the list is the geriatric care managers. So this is another place that you could probably do a Google search online and find folks um, who help you. Day to day if you needed it. So let's say your family is living away from you. You could potentially hire a geriatric care manager to maybe take you to doctor's appointments or um, kind of general caregiving things. It's on a private pay basis, but I believe they are certified to be a geriatric care manager. Thinking about community, are there things that you qualify for through DHHS? Are there chore services that you might be able to get through those programs? Are you to help you out in and around the house? Some folks will qualify for what's called a My Choice waiver, and this is largely income based. I'm not going to go into it. We could do a whole session on this. But if you qualify, you could potentially, in your nursing home eligible, you could bring in home services into your home. Think about, are you a veteran? Do you have, or were you married to a veteran and you qualify for veteran uh, benefits? There are things that can help. Another place, I'll take you online as well for the geriatrics, geriatrics and extended care. Let me pull it over here. They have a whole website that you can explore if you're a veteran to see what you qualify for. And my mouse is being sensitive today, so thinking about all of these, I'm not going to click on every single one, but it gives you a lot of categories to look at and explore, see what you qualify for. And again, we're talking about these today, thinking that, maybe now's not the time that you're ready to make these decisions, but thinking about it down the road, what will you need as you go? All right, let me double check the chat. Um, can I get regular check? Oh, we already did that one. I'm okay. I think I keep seeing them and they disappear, so somebody's playing in the background. Okay, next. So, a couple more things to think about. You own your home. Depending on your income level and the value of your home, you could quite possibly be eligible for some property tax relief. So, thinking about, long-term finances, is this something that you could benefit from? Also, you've owned your home for a long time, perhaps. Is equity something that you want to take a look at in terms of helping you make sure you age in place? So it's important to think about this. Again, this is income based, but depending on what your income is, you could potentially qualify for property tax credits, which could help pay for your property taxes. You may or may not have to file a full return. Some people who don't have taxable income don't have to file a return, but you still could benefit from a homestead credit. Um, you could possibly, it gives the parameters there. The um, one person, the threshold for this is City of Ann Arbor, and it's different for pretty much every municipality. But for the City of Ann Arbor, for one person, the income threshold is um, just under $30,000. And then a little bit over $40,000 for two people. Um, Also, you could potentially benefit from a deferment for your property taxes. So if your household income is less than $40,000, you're 62 years or older, or have other situations that are listed, you could get more time to pay your property taxes. And that's something that, a lot of people don't think about, but it could be that little bit of help that you might need to help you stay in your home. Um, I'm gonna check the chat again because there's another. The housing market is still good now, but is bound to go down. How to decide timing of selling with needs to downsize and move? That's a great question. Um, but let's talk about that in this next slide because we're going to talk about utilizing your home equity if you have home equity. I'm not a real estate person. I'm never going to claim to know for certain. I do track the market a little bit, but this is something that you would need to contact a trusted real estate agent about and talk about the trends of the real estate. Timing is critical because you want to make sure that you're maximizing. If you decide to sell or you decide to refinance, you want to maximize the equity there. But this is something that shouldn't be taken lightly. I always kind of get nervous putting this slide up because I'm not advocating that anyone take these actions, especially in an act of desperation. This is something that should be thought out and discussed with a financial planner. But maybe you want to sell your home and downsize and see how it could help you navigate things better. Depending on what your equity is, you could use some of that to maybe do some modifications that you need. But all with looking at the big picture of making sure that it's not going to put you in a position that you're worse off financially than you were to begin with. Reverse mortgages are something that are still on the market that are available. It's not for everyone. It's not something that should be taken lightly at all. But when it used right, it could be used to help a person age in place. Again, depending on equity, depending on, they have changed things a lot where they're looking at credit ratings now. You're still responsible for property taxes and insurance. But it's something that can be explored. Definitely can be explored.
Yeah, hold on one sec. We have a question back here.
Sure.
So you're talking about property tax credits and deferments. Where would I go to find out if I qualify for those?
Well, lucky you should ask. Actually, Housing Bureau for Seniors can answer some questions for you. We have a foreclosure prevention person on staff, and they are well versed in what to look for and whether or not you qualify. So I have one of these slides gives our contact information, and you can call our office. You don't have to call our office. You can contact the local treasurer's office, find out from them. There's things that can happen that they can assist you with as well. Any other questions before I move on? Check the time. Okay, doing good on time. So what this boils down to is it's really your decision. all of these things taken into consideration and mapping out how, where, and when you want to make these kinds of changes. Are you able to stay in your own home? And if not, what do you need to do to to ensure that you're safe and that you are happy where you decide to be? So this mouse is there. It goes. Okay. Um, more things to think about. So we talked a lot about home ownership and what to think about. Um, maybe you're still on the fence. You're not sure what you still want to do. So we talked a little bit about this already, but just to reiterate, take a good inventory of your own home. Is it safe for you to be there? And again, in that 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years, whatever your time frame is that you think you might need the extra assistance, are your stairs safe? Do you need grab bars in your bathroom? Are you able to keep up that home maintenance, just the regular routine? Um, thinking about driving again, do you anticipate taking yourself off the road at any point? And if you do, or if your family asks you to, or something along those lines, um, are you familiar with and comfortable with public transportation? Um, while you have your own car, perhaps parked in your garage, maybe now's the time to explore, what it's like to take a public transportation. And then thinking about social isolation, this is big. Um, you know, having people around you is very important. There's studies that are showing that social isolation and at an isolated person can have the same impact as smoking several packs of cigarettes. That's how it impacts your health. So making sure that you have people around you and that you have the support that you need um, to make sure that you stay healthy. So I'm going to transition a little bit here and thinking, say you decide after all this that, I think I want to do is I want to move. I think I need to, it makes more sense for me. Making an informed decision for what you want to do. So there's things to think about there as well. Right. So, and again, I mentioned this early on in the presentation. I'm not going to talk about any specific communities today. We certainly can talk about that at another time. But these are things to think about for your own well-being. So, funding, function, and feel. It's like, how are you going to pay for this if you decide you want to move? What's affordable out there? What can you afford? Um, whatever with the function, um, how will it fit around your level of need, assuming you're anticipating some level of need if you anticipate not being absolutely independent in the future? And then what do you think about the particular residence? It's important to know this is you're going to, could be your home, it's going to be your um, place where you reside, you're going to be in and out all day, every day. You want to make sure that you're comfortable with that. So, talk a little bit about funding. There's ways, most, um, thinking about, how we looking at your own finances, talking to a financial planner, thinking about what you have in the future. Are you able to utilize all of your social security pensions investments if you have that for private pay. So that's someone talked about this early on in this in our meeting here today. Prices are going higher and higher and higher, and that is very true. I don't have the exact numbers here, but you could be paying anywhere from a low end of $3,000 to $5,000 to $10,000 to $15,000 or more, depending on your need and your level of want. So that's something to think about. How much is it going to cost you in the future? And then thinking about, again, income based in terms of what your income is. You could potentially get some public assistance in terms of getting what's called the My Choice waiver and getting assistance in that way. Sometimes that involves Medicaid. Not everyone here is going to qualify for that. And what do your veteran benefits help you qualify for? That's something to think about. I'll pause, see if there's any questions. And I'm not seeing anything in the room, Yvonne? Okay,
No
all right,
questions.
thank you. Just wanted to check in every once in a while, make sure we got everybody. Okay, okay, so thinking about function. So, you're deciding you want to move somewhere, and perhaps you need help with your activities of daily living. You need help with your, whether it's your physical well-being or it's your social well-being. Like, do you need help with your hygiene? Do you need help with toileting? Do you need help? Someone mentioned that um, in the early exercise early on. Is there something that we need? Do you anticipate these things? And will the place that you're looking at, it's a question to ask. Will they, to what end will they be able to help? Some of them are inclusive, some of them are a la carte, where you pick and choose what types of things you need assistance for, and then pay accordingly.
Janet, there's a question
Yes.
in the question and answers. You mean,
Okay.
so she asked, you mean up to $10,000 to $15,000 a month, right?
Correct. They could go up that high. Okay. So another thing to think about is, if you anticipate needing care and you're in a place, will they allow you to bring in your own care if you need it? So these are kind of questions to ask. And then the most subjective component to looking at a place, should you choose to go in that direction, um, making sure that it fits. Visiting the residents to see if, is it clean, is it neat, is it to hold up to your standards, does the feel and personality of the place, does it satisfy you? Food is largely important. See if you can sample some of their meals. Some of the higher end senior living communities, you can walk in and have a meal. Um, I probably for pay, I'm sure. But you order off a menu and you get what you get a sampling for what's offered there. I know that at Turner they do often do cooking programs from some of the senior living communities, so you get a sense for the um, the chefs that come in, that and the quality that they have. What kind of activities do they have? Is it some place where they have some organized activities where you can stay um, uh, associated with folks and not isolate yourself? Are there things that, do they have outings that you can do? I see that I get on some of the Facebook senior living communities, and I see my mom's in one as well, and um, they talk about all the parties they have and the birthday celebrations and the outings and all that. So those are things to think about. And then, and more importantly, what am I not thinking about that you might be? What else is important to you? Maybe we can open that up in the chat for a moment to see, what other things would you like to think about that that are important to you for finding a place.
I'm just gonna throw in, nobody's raising their hand, but Yvonne is saying pets.
Say again.
Can I take my pet?
Can you take your pet? Excellent question. That's something that, yep, I probably should add this here. And I know most places we probably can up to a certain size, but pets are very important. Any other comments?
Hobby areas was another one.
Hobby areas, right? Absolutely. There's some of the senior living communities have art rooms and different types of rooms. So possible need in the Q&A, possible need for higher levels of care. So that's something that you want to ask to see if you are embarking on going someplace and you're anticipating needing higher levels of care. What do they have to offer? What can you bring in on your own? Things like that. Absolutely. Any other comments? or questions
There are a few
about?
more in question and answers. Can
Okay,
I
let
have
me
a
take it.
caregiver if needed?
Right? That's something. Okay, here we go. Yep. Thinking about a live-in caregiver, which is a huge distinction, right? Can you have somebody live in with you? That's an excellent thing to ask about.
Also,
Accommodation. Go ahead. Go ahead,
you
Yvonne.
got it, Janet, you're reading it. I hear it.
Okay, accommodation for food allergies. I was set back realizing that a facility wouldn't do this for me. That's very unfortunate that you're trying to decide what you where to go and they're not able to accommodate food allergies. That's huge, and that I imagine is a difficult thing to navigate as well. But definitely ask sooner than later. And then, do they have service coordinator on duty? Service coordinators are very important. And I know that there's different levels of senior living communities that we work with on a regular basis, and um, I know that the ones with the active and engaged service coordinators are my anecdotal opinion is that the residents are much more happier on the most part because they get the assistance that they need and they help get the coordination of those services. Um, let's see. Our congregate, oh, okay. Our congregate meals available. Um, Another great question. So what is the meal situation? Are you able to go down and, sit in a dining room with your fellow residents, things like that? For profit, not buy-ins, pros versus cons. So thinking about the question or the comment here is another thing to think about is on the especially on the higher end, is there a buy-in that you have to participate with? So do you have to put down a certain amount of money um, to um, to live there? And then what are the pros and cons of that, and what happens to that if you should not live out the the terms? So thinking about that and asking in-depth questions about the pros and cons versus that. Great comments. Any other comments about this particular segment?
No more comments here.
Okay, thank you. All right, so it really boils down to you making a decision. Thinking about where you are now, what you have in front of you, where you anticipate being in 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years, as I said, and it's different for everyone. Some of you might already know that you're going to be needing help. Some of you have no idea at all. Some of us might experience, incidents where we need immediate assistance. But trying to anticipate as much as you can on how to navigate these decisions is going to be for the better. So,
Janet, one more
Yep.
question came through.
okay,
Um,
go ahead.
how to manage if one person in a couple has dementia and the other is the caregiver? And what if there are different need levels?
Excellent question, and that's something to bring up with in your search, and it could ask it just like that because how are the arrangements made, and what happens if you have a couple where the level of care are drastically different. It has an impact on the household income. It has an impact on just being together. So those are excellent questions to ask.
We have another question.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so similar but different question. How to manage when there's a couple that have different desires?
Is that
How to manage compatibility when you've got a couple and they have different desires?
yeah, that is I don't think I've ever been asked that question before. I imagine, it's really going to boil down to um your desires, right? And living in financial, right? I mean, if you have all the money in the world and you don't have a care about finances, you take up residence next door to each other. Or if it's something, and again, I'm making this up to some degree, but it's really largely personal in terms of how you choose to live, and then asking the community that you're seeking out to um, help you navigate that, and what's the best way that um, you can you can make that work.
We have a
So
couple more questions.
sure, please. We have about 3 more minutes, so let's let them rip.
Okay, so the first question is, do you have any comments about senior moving services?
Okay. I don't. Um, I wouldn't put myself in a position where I would endorse anyone, but I think that there are resources around, that you can probably get a list of different services that would assist you. I know that there are companies around that will help you downsize. There's where they will come in and actually help you pack up, and literally physically move you. And that really is going to depend on your finances as well and what you can afford. If you need somebody to help you pack up a U-Haul truck is different than a full service that'll come in and just take over for you. So
Okay.
I think that if you call our office, we would have some resources to that end.
Okay, we have another question.
Sure.
Okay, how to help a family member who has tunnel vision in their perspective and feeling, how to help them move. They're resisting help. So how do you help someone who's resisting help?
So someone who's resisting help, who perhaps you're identifying needs that they probably should be making some decisions. Um, the best thing I would do, I mean, if they're open to having a conversation with someone, either at a senior living community or maybe somebody from our office, where we can sit down and talk about the reality of it. Share this PowerPoint presentation with them and ask them to think about how to anticipate, or how to engage in some prevention for things that could happen. And these are things that happen to all of us, right? It's scary to think about. And sometimes people, when it comes to aging, they want to look the other way because they don't want to they don't want to go there, so to speak. Um, in my view, we're all going to go there if we're lucky. So we might as well try and look at it with our eyes wide open than trying to pretend it's not going to happen. So maybe some counseling, talk to a physician or a counselor or somebody who can um, perhaps help you break through a little bit. Hope that helps. And you had another one, I think, Yvonne?
Any more questions? No, no more questions, Janet.
Okay. Anything else online? This brings us to time. We're right at 11 o'clock. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so has been recorded. We will figure out how to share it and disseminate it. We will send out the slides to the folks that are either registered or on this webinar, or who have given their email addresses to Yvonne in the room. So, and with that, I thank you very much for your time and attention, and thank you for participating with Senior Living Week. We still have a few more workshops to attend this week. If you haven't looked at it already, hopefully you'll join us. And take care.
Thank you, Janet. Thanks, everyone.
So again, we sent out emails to many people saying we're going to hold this virtually. I suspect that we didn't have most of your emails. So if you want this on the slide deck or the presentation, please give me your emails and we'll take care of it when I get back to the office. time. I had some. Oh, here we go.
Anything else before we sign off?
I think we're good. We could probably sign off the online.
Great.
Yeah, okay.
All right,
Thanks,
thanks again.
Shannon.
Bye.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.